What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Before we get into questions, just real fast, we need to say a huge thank you to Mikey Sipin, who just joined our Jedi Council on Patreon. That is just a massive showing of support, and we wanted to thank you. It means so much to us.
Thank you so much.
So, that said, let's dive into questions.
Aaron Oenya asks if we think Rey will make her own lightsaber or if she'll continue to use Anakin's.
I kind of think that she is not going to make her own, and this is more just because I don't know that they're going to spend the time to show like a crafting montage. I would love to see it happen in the film. I just kind of doubt it. The cat's now in Molly's lap. So I kind of tend to think we just won't see it. But what I think may happen is we might see a lightsaber crystal being bled. I feel like the new canon has really been hitting the whole bleeding principle really hard. We've seen it happen in Darth Vader. It was introduced over a year ago in the Ahsoka book. So I'm kind of wondering if they're setting up for us to see a lightsaber turn red in the film. I mean, that would be pretty intense if Rey or if Kylo got a hold of Anakin's lightsaber and that classically blue lightsaber finally turned red. I mean, that would be insane.
Jordan Keckler wants to know if we think we'll see Vader's lightsaber in The Last Jedi.
I doubt it. I kind of think that Vader's lightsaber didn't survive the destruction of the second Death Star. I mean, his hand got cut off and it just fell down the reactor shaft. So I think it probably blew up there. And even if it did survive, there's a chance that in the Aftermath book it was recovered and then destroyed anyway. So I think that was a fake lightsaber, but I think it's way more likely that it was just destroyed on the second Death Star. I don't know what stormtrooper would have been lucky enough to be standing 100 floors down, like, with a catcher's mitt. I just don't think it's possible.
They might have one of those, like, mesh things and be like, we've lost a couple of those lightsabers before. We better put one of these.
People are always falling down long shafts. Like, let's get some safety up in here. Yeah, the Empire never has safety rails. Maybe by the second Death Star they learned their lesson.
Yeah. Another will we see in The Last Jedi question. Fenton Murray asks if we might see Hera in The Last Jedi since we know she survives the Battle of Endor.
Again, I doubt it. If she were to show up, which I think would be awesome. This was kind of like a lot of people were asking, would we see her in Rogue One? And my answer was always, if we see her, it would be like in the background, you just kind of see a green Twi'lek that was dressed kind of like her. And that's all we would get. I don't think she's going to have any significant appearance. I don't think she's even going to have a cameo, but I think it would be very cool if she did.
Michael Sweat wants to know when we'll start getting more stories set between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
I think we're probably going to start getting more of those stories after The Last Jedi. I think Lucasfilm has been keeping that era purposefully vague because of Luke Skywalker. I think they want his big return to be in The Last Jedi. And then once that happens, I think they're going to feel the freedom to explore that a little more. You also asked how planned out do I think that era is. I don't think they have it planned out really at all. I think just what we know and the basics are that Luke went around exploring different Force belief systems and just the nature of the Force, and that he started his own Jedi Academy. I think that's as far as their planning has got. And then once they start to explore that era, they're probably just going to leave it up to the authors, and the story group will give them little guidelines here and there.
Nathan Johnson asks why droids weren't allowed in the Cantina on Tatooine. We don't serve their kind here.
Well, you are right. You wrote out that there were anti-droid sentiments after the Clone Wars, and that is true. But the book, from a certain point of view, does touch on this, and it's more of Wooher's personal leanings, the bartender. He had a particularly awful experience with some droids in the Clone Wars, so he just hates droids, and I think that is the main reason. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where I left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained goodies like monthly giveaways and audio commentaries for the films, and the combined donations really go a long way in supporting the channel.
On to YouTube questions. Screen Ninja asks if we'll do an updated list of favorite canon books or novels.
Yeah, I can't remember if I did it last year or not, but my plan is at the end of the year to update at least like the top stories of the year, or maybe it'll be the top 10 stories in canon. But yeah, if I didn't last year, I meant to, and this year I will do an updated version of the list.
Commander Thorne wants to know why Wedge and Avon Verlaine didn't get medals after the Battle of Yavin.
The real reason is because Han and Luke were the main characters in the movie, and we didn't really know who Wedge was. We definitely didn't know who Avon was when the movie came out. But, I mean, you're right. I think they should have gotten medals. We know Chewie got one. But why didn't Wedge and Avon? They did just as much. I mean, I feel like everyone should have gotten a posthumous medal. Everyone that served in that battle deserved one. But really, I think the answer is just because they weren't main characters of the movie.
The Black Arrow asks if lightsabers can break naturally given enough time.
Yes, we actually see it happen in Star Wars Rebels Season 2 when they go to Malachor. Ezra finds an old crossguard blade and he turns it on, and then it just kind of fizzles out. So, yeah, I think given thousands of years, they can just break.
Do you think it could have been something that happened to them on Malachor that caused them to, like, short out, or...?
It could be. We know the super weapon fired there, so yeah, it's possible that the super weapon caused it to break, but...
Could have made all the crystals crack.
Yeah, I guess in my mind it was a time thing, but yeah, it could have been the super weapon just as easily.
Yep. Nelkir wants to know if we think the next Thrawn book will explain how we met Rook for the first time.
That is an interesting question, because the first Thrawn book pretty much covers his entire career up until Season 3 of Star Wars Rebels. So, yeah, it's kind of like, where did he meet him? I'm guessing, I do think that it will cover that, and I'm guessing that maybe he met Rook when he was serving with Anakin in the Clone Wars. We know that happened, we just don't have that story yet. And since Thrawn Alliances is going to be about Thrawn and Vader teaming up, I think it's probably also going to tell a flashback story of Thrawn and Anakin teaming up, and maybe Rook will play into that part.
Last up, we've got Wolf W, who asks how and when Jedi with 2 lightsabers like Ahsoka get their second Kyber crystals.
The book Ahsoka covers this, and it's just a very brief mention, but she says that she did go back to Ilum for her second lightsaber crystal, so it's just kind of a thing where if they want a second lightsaber, they just have to go back and, I guess, do another gathering and go into the crystal caves and feel one call out to them. I think they just have to go through the entire process again. I wonder if the Jedi ever put a limit on how many lightsabers someone could have, but the basics are that, yeah, they just had to go through the same thing again.
I would imagine maybe the process is really time-consuming, or it only works if you really need another one, because yeah, I could see Jedi going and getting lots and lots of lightsabers.
Yeah, it is interesting because like you have to go and feel the call of a crystal, and it's like if you aren't meant to have a second lightsaber, then maybe you won't feel that call. So maybe Ahsoka wanted a second lightsaber, and maybe that desire was coming from the Force in the first place. So that stuff starts to get all mystical, but yeah. The basics are that they had to go back to Ilum. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below, or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel,
and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.